Jack it up.
What if, like, true happiness meant, like, letting go of everything you thought you needed? Welcome to Sassy Scoop TV, where, we dive into the things that make you think.
Yeah.
I'm Alex, and I'm here with Casey to, like, unpack two ancient philosophies that just might change your outlook on life.
Oh, wow.
Stoicism and Confucianism.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how these philosophies, like born worlds apart, offer such different paths to the good life.
Right.
Stoicism emerged in ancient Greece around the 3rd century BCE,
Okay.
while Confucianism, took root in China during the 5th century BCE. Yet both grapple with, like, timeless questions about happiness, virtue, and how to live in a sometimes chaotic world.
So for those of us just dipping our toes into these philosophical waters, let's start with the basics.
Sure.
What exactly is Stoicism?
Okay, so imagine a bustling marketplace, right, in Athens. Amidst the chaos and chatter, a philosopher named Zeno of Citium begins teaching in a stoa, a covered porch.
The covered porch.
Yeah, and his teachings, focused on reason, virtue, and acceptance of what we can't control, became known as Stoicism. The idea is that true happiness, or eudaimonia, comes not from, external things like wealth or status, but from living in accordance with nature and cultivating inner virtue.
So not sweating the small stuff, focusing on what you can control. That sounds pretty relevant even today. What about Confucianism? What's the story there?
Confucianism comes from the teachings of Confucius, or Master Kong, in ancient China.
Okay.
It's less about individual happiness, you see, and more about creating a harmonious society. Confucius emphasized ethical behavior, strong family ties, respect for elders, and fulfilling one's role in the community. Think of it as a philosophy that prioritizes the well-being of the collective.
Over the individual.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm seeing some interesting contrasts already. One focuses inward, the other outward. But both seem to be concerned with living a good life.
Right.
Just like with different approaches.
Yeah.
Now, we can't talk about these philosophies without mentioning some of the like heavy hitters who, shaped their development.
Absolutely. On the Stoic side, we have figures like Seneca, a Roman statesman, right? Known for his practical wisdom, often presented in letters.
Okay.
Then there's Epictetus, a former slave who taught about resilience and inner freedom.
Wow.
And of course, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor,
Oh, yeah.
who famously wrote his meditations, while ruling an empire, proving that Stoicism isn't just theoretical, right?
Right.
It can be applied even in the most demanding of circumstances.
An emperor writing a philosophy journal. Talk about walking the walk. What about Confucianism? Who are the key figures there?
So Mencius, who lived a couple of centuries after Confucius, is a major figure. He expanded on the idea of inherent goodness in human nature
Oh, okay.
and advocated for benevolent leadership. Then we have Zunzi, who offered a contrasting view, suggesting that human nature needs guidance through rituals and education to develop properly.
So even within each philosophy, we see like different interpretations and branches.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Uh-huh.
Let's get into some like specific philosophical territory now.
Sure.
One thing that always comes up in philosophy is the concept of nature. How did Stoics and Confucians view the natural world?
Well, for Stoics, nature is rational and ordered, governed by like a divine reason called logos. Living in harmony with nature meant, aligning yourself with this universal reason, accepting its flow, and understanding your place within the grand scheme of things.
So a very cosmic perspective. What about Confucianism?
Right.
Did they share this view?
While Confucians also valued harmony with nature, their focus was more on the interconnectedness of all things and finding balance, within that web of relationships. It's less about a grand cosmic order and more about aligning oneself with the natural rhythms and cycles of life.
So both philosophies value nature, but from different angles. Let's move on to ethics. How did Stoicism and Confucianism approach the question of right and wrong?
So Stoicism holds that virtue is the sole good. Wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, these are the cornerstones of a virtuous life. External factors, like wealth or social status, are considered indifferent, neither inherently good nor bad. They shouldn't dictate your happiness or your moral compass.
So it's about focusing on your inner character, not getting caught up in external validation.
Exactly. Confucianism, on the other hand, emphasizes ethical behavior as arising from fulfilling your social roles and contributing to the harmony of the community.
Got it.
It's about cultivating virtues like benevolence.
Gens.
Yeah, and light propriety, which, guide you in how to interact with others respectfully and responsibly.
Interesting. So Stoicism focuses on aligning your actions with, universal reason, while Confucianism stresses ethical conduct within the specific context of social relationships.
Okay.
And this difference becomes, particularly apparent when we consider their political visions.
Right.
Okay, let's talk politics.
Yeah.
These philosophies emerged in times of, social and political change. How did their views on leadership and the ideal society differ?
Well, Stoicism, with its emphasis on universal reason, had a remarkably progressive view for its time. They envisioned a cosmopolitan world where all humans are citizens of a single world state, regardless of their social standing or origin.
Wow. That's pretty radical for the ancient world. What about Confucianism? Do they have a similar vision?
Not quite. Confucianism envisioned an ideal society grounded in hierarchical harmony. Everyone has their place and specific duties to fulfill, from the emperor to the commoner. The key is to ensure that, everyone acts virtuously.
Right.
Within their assigned roles.
Right.
Creating a stable and harmonious social order.
So Stoicism leans toward universal equality based on reason, while Confucianism favors a structured society guided by tradition and virtue. It makes you wonder how these philosophies might be applied to modern politics today.
Oh, it's a fascinating question.
Right.
And one we'll definitely explore further. But before we do that, let's dive into another crucial aspect of, the human experience, emotions. How did Stoics and Confucians view the role of feelings in a good life?
Okay, let's unpack that. Emotions are such a powerful force in our lives. How do these philosophies approach something so complex?
Well, Stoicism, you might have guessed, is all about emotional control. Strong emotions, or passions, were seen as potential roadblocks to rational judgment and tranquility. The goal wasn't to eliminate emotions entirely, but to cultivate
Empathia.
Yeah. A state of inner peace and freedom from being ruled by turbulent feelings.
So not letting your emotions run wild.
Right.
But more about finding a place of calm amidst the storm.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that while we can't always control what we feel, we can control how we react to those feelings.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What about Confucianism? Did they advocate for emotional suppression as well?
Not exactly. Confucianism acknowledge the natural role of emotions in human relationships.
Okay.
It emphasizes, regulating emotions through ritual and propriety, expressing them appropriately according to social norms and the specific situation. It's about finding a balance, acknowledging feelings, but ensuring they don't disrupt social harmony.
So Stoicism aims for tranquility through, reasoned control of emotions.
Right.
While Confucianism emphasizes harmonious expression within, social contexts. Both philosophies offer, intriguing perspectives on navigating the complexities of our inner world.
They do.
And they raise important questions about how these ancient ideas about emotions, might be relevant in today's world, a world where we're constantly bombarded with information and stimuli. I'm curious to dive deeper into that.
Sure.
But before we move on, I think it's important to address some of the criticisms that have been raised against both philosophies over the years.
Yeah.
No system of thought is perfect, right?
That's right. Every philosophy has its strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Let's unpack some of the criticisms that Stoicism and Confucianism have faced. One common critique of Stoicism is that its emphasis on, accepting what you can't control could lead to passivity.
Oh, right.
In the face of injustice.
In the face of injustice.
Yeah. Critics argue that it might discourage people from fighting for positive change.
I see.
Promoting a kind of, grin and bear it attitude, even when things are, clearly wrong.
So, just accepting a bad situation instead of trying to make it better.
Exactly.
I can see how that could be a problem. What about Confucianism? What kind of criticisms has it faced?
So Confucianism's emphasis on social harmony and hierarchy has been criticized, right, for potentially stifling individual expression and dissent. Critics argue that it could lead to conformity and a reluctance to challenge authority, even when that authority is unjust or corrupt.
That's a good point. Blind obedience to authority never ends well.
Yeah.
So both philosophies have, potential downsides.
Yeah.
Particularly when taken to extremes.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the historical context and some of the core concepts.
Yeah.
How do you see these ancient philosophies being relevant in the modern world?
Well, it's remarkable how these ancient ideas, can still resonate today.
Yeah.
Take Stoicism, for example.
Yeah.
Its focus on managing emotions, accepting what you can't control, and finding inner peace is incredibly relevant in our fast-paced,
Right.
often chaotic world.
So it's like an ancient toolkit for dealing with modern stress.
Precisely. Stoic practices like, negative visualization.
Negative visualization.
Yeah, where you mentally prepare for potential setbacks
Okay.
can help,
Yeah.
resilience and reduce anxiety.
Nice.
And the emphasis on focusing on what's within your control can be empowering in situations where you might feel overwhelmed or helpless.
That makes a lot of sense. What about Confucianism?
Sure.
How do its principles apply to, modern life?
Well, Confucianism's emphasis on ethical behavior, strong relationships,
Right.
and social responsibility
Yeah.
offers valuable guidance, right?
Yeah.
In a world that often feels increasingly individualistic and fragmented, its principles can be applied to everything from, building stronger family bonds to creating more ethical workplaces and political systems.
I like how you're highlighting the practical side of these philosophies. It's not just about abstract ideas. It's about how we can actually live better lives.
Yeah.
Can you give us some specific examples of how Stoicism and Confucianism are being applied today?
Absolutely. Stoicism, as we mentioned, has found a place in, modern psychotherapy.
Modern psychotherapy. Yeah.
Cognitive behavioral therapy, or
Sure.
CBT, draws heavily on Stoic principles of understanding and managing your thoughts and emotions
Interesting.
by challenging negative thought patterns.
And focusing on what you can control, right? CBT helps individuals overcome anxiety, depression, and other,
Mental health challenges.
So ancient philosophy informing modern therapy.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What about Confucianism? Where are we seeing its influence today?
Confucianism has seen a resurgence of interest in business ethics
Oh, okay.
and leadership. The concept of
Ren.
which emphasizes empathy, compassion, and treating others with respect,
Right.
is becoming increasingly relevant
Yeah.
in a globalized world, right?
Yeah.
Where businesses need to navigate diverse cultures and values.
So it's not just about maximizing profits.
Exactly.
It's about building ethical and sustainable businesses that, benefit everyone involved.
Exactly. And Confucianism's emphasis on social harmony and collective well-being is also finding resonance,
Right.
in discussions around environmental sustainability and social justice.
That makes sense. We're all interconnected, and
Yeah.
our actions have ripple effects on the world around us. Now, we've talked about how these philosophies can be applied individually
Yeah.
and even on a societal level.
Right.
But I'm curious, how do they address the question of, personal growth and self-cultivation?
Well, both Stoicism and Confucianism, right?
Yeah.
Place a strong emphasis on self-cultivation, but they approach it from different angles.
Okay.
So Stoicism encourages us to develop our inner strength
Yeah.
and resilience through practices like self-reflection, mindfulness, and focusing on our virtues.
So it's about building a kind of inner fortress
Yeah,
that can, withstand the storms of life.
that's a great metaphor. Confucianism, on the other hand, sees self-cultivation as a process of refining,
Yeah.
our character through education, ritual, and engaging in virtuous actions within our relationships and communities.
So it's less about individual strength
Right.
and more about becoming a better person through interacting with the world around you.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how these two approaches to self-cultivation can actually complement each other.
Yeah.
Stoicism provides the inner foundation, while Confucianism,
Right.
offers guidance on how to express that cultivated self in the world.
It sounds like a pretty powerful combination. Stoicism for inner strength, Confucianism for ethical action. But here's the big question. Can you actually integrate these two philosophies into a single, coherent approach to life?
It's certainly challenged given their different origins and emphasis, but
Right.
I think it's possible and even desirable to, draw wisdom from both traditions. The key is to identify the aspects of each, right? That resonate most with you.
Okay.
And find ways to like weave them together into a personalized philosophy that guides your actions and decisions.
So it's not about rigidly adhering to one or the other.
Exactly.
It's about creating your own like unique blend.
Exactly. It's about taking what works for you and leaving the rest. It's about being open to, different perspectives. And finding what helps you live a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
I love that idea. It's about empowering yourself to create a philosophy that fits your life, drawing wisdom from wherever you find it. But let's be realistic.
Sure.
We're living in a complex world with all sorts of, challenges and temptations.
Yeah.
How can we actually put these philosophical ideas into practice?
Yeah, right.
How do we bridge the gap between theory and action?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
But both Stoicism and Confucianism, right, offer practical tools and practices that can help us live more in alignment with our values.
Okay, give us some specifics. What are some of these tools and practices that we can, try out in our own lives?
On the Stoic side, there's negative visualization, which we mentioned earlier, to build resilience. There's also the practice of, journaling.
Journaling, yeah.
Where you reflect on your thoughts and actions, identifying areas where you can improve.
Interesting.
And there's mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Which helps you stay grounded in the present moment and appreciate the, simple things in life.
So Stoicism is about cultivating a mindset
Right.
that helps you navigate challenges and find contentment, even in difficult circumstances.
Exactly. Confucianism, on the other hand, emphasizes practices like,
Ritual.
Yeah, which can be anything from a daily tea ceremony to setting aside time for family dinners to cultivate mindfulness and connection.
I see.
There's also the practice of lifelong learning,
Lifelong learning.
Yeah, seeking out knowledge and wisdom from diverse sources to expand your understanding of the world and your place in it.
So Confucianism is about engaging with the world around you in a thoughtful and ethical way, constantly striving to improve yourself in your relationships.
Precisely. And it's important to remember that these practices aren't about, achieving perfection.
Right.
They're about making small incremental changes that over time can lead to a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
I like that. It's not about being a perfect Stoic or a perfect Confucian.
Right.
It's about finding what works for you and making those ancient wisdom traditions relevant to your, modern life.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that the journey is just as important as the destination, the process of self-cultivation, of seeking wisdom and living in accordance with your values is a lifelong endeavor.
So it's not about arriving at some ultimate state of enlightenment.
Right.
It's about constantly striving to become a better version of yourself.
Absolutely. And that's what makes these philosophies so compelling.
Right.
They offer a path, not a final destination.
Well, that's a powerful message to leave our listeners with.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this episode, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about the potential downsides of these philosophies.
Sure.
How can we avoid falling into those traps
of
passivity or blind obedience?
That's a great question. It's about, finding a balance.
Okay.
Stoicism's acceptance doesn't mean complacency.
Right.
It's about recognizing what you can't control so you can focus your energy on what you can change.
Got it.
And Confucianism's emphasis on hierarchy shouldn't be interpreted as, blind obedience. It's about respecting legitimate authority while also speaking up against injustice and advocating for positive change.
So it's about using these philosophies as tools for critical thinking and ethical action, not as excuses for, inaction or conformity.
Precisely. It's about being thoughtful, discerning, and using your best judgment in every situation.
That's a great point to end on. Using these ancient wisdom traditions to navigate the complexities of modern life.
Right.
Finding a balance between individual growth and, social responsibility. It's been a fascinating deep dive into two philosophies that offer a lot of food for thought. What do you think?
Yeah.
Are these ancient ideas still relevant in the 21st century?
I believe they are more relevant than ever.
Oh, wow.
In a world facing, increasing challenges like climate change,
Climate change.
social inequality,
Right.
and political polarization.
Yeah.
We need like philosophical frameworks that help us, navigate these complexities with wisdom, compassion, and a sense of field responsibility.
It sounds like Stoicism and Confucianism offer valuable tools for creating a better future, both for ourselves and for the world, around us.
Absolutely. And it's up to each of us to take these ancient ideas and make them our own, using them to create a more just, harmonious, and, fulfilling world.
It's really interesting, right, how both philosophies offer like these pieces of a puzzle.
Yeah.
Different paths leading toward like the same goal, a good life.
Yeah, what strikes me
Yeah.
is how Stoicism and Confucianism, while advocating different approaches,
Right.
both ultimately like emphasize the importance of self-cultivation.
Student cultivation, okay.
It's about constantly striving to become, better versions of ourselves, whether that's through inner resilience or, ethical action in the world.
You touched on some really important points about their modern relevance.
Yeah.
From therapy techniques
Mm.
to ethical leadership, these ancient ideas are like surprisingly applicable to, our current challenges.
Mm-hmm.
What stands out to you as the most compelling aspect of their modern application?
Oh, it's hard to choose just one.
Yeah.
But the growing interest in Stoicism and mindfulness for managing anxiety and stress is like particularly significant
Yeah.
in a world that feels increasingly overwhelming,
Right.
These practices offer practical tools for finding calm amidst the storm.
It makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
Could incorporating some of these principles
Mm-hmm.
into our education systems, our workplaces,
Right.
even our political discourse,
Yeah.
lead to a more balanced and harmonious society?
It's a thought-provoking question.
For sure.
Imagine a world where leaders prioritize, ethical conduct and the well-being of the community, where individuals are equipped with the tools to manage their emotions
Right.
and navigate challenges with resilience.
Yes.
It's a compelling vision,
It is.
though certainly not without, its complexities.
We talked about the potential pitfalls
Yeah.
of these philosophies. How can we, as individuals,
Right.
be mindful of those traps and ensure we're using these ideas constructively?
That's a great question. It comes down to, critical thinking
Okay.
and discernment. Blindly following any ideology, even one as seemingly beneficial as Stoicism or Confucianism, can be dangerous.
Yeah, I can see that.
We need to constantly question our assumptions,
Right.
challenge our biases,
Again,
and adapt these principles to the specific circumstances we face.
So it's about taking the wisdom
Yeah.
these philosophies offer and using it to inform our own choices.
Right.
Not blindly following a set of rules. It's about becoming active participants in our own philosophical development.
Yeah.
Not just, passive consumers of ancient wisdom.
Exactly. It's about finding what resonates with you, what aligns with your values, and then actively integrating those principles into your daily life.
Yeah.
It's a journey of self-discovery, not a destination.
We've certainly covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
From ancient Greece to modern therapy, from the ethics of leadership to the, importance of ritual. Stoicism and Confucianism offer a wealth of insights
Yeah.
for anyone seeking a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, is there a final thought
Sure.
you'd like to leave our listeners with?
If there's one thing I hope our listeners take away from this conversation, it's that, philosophy isn't just an academic pursuit. It's a living, breathing tradition that can offer practical guidance and wisdom for navigating the challenges of being human.
Right.
Whether you're drawn to the Stoic emphasis on, inner strength, or the Confucian focus on social harmony, or perhaps a blend of both.
Yeah.
I encourage you to explore these philosophies further and see how they might enrich your own life.
That's a fantastic note to end on.
Yeah.
So to our amazing listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Stoicism and Confucianism. We hope this has, sparked your curiosity
For sure.
and inspired you to explore these philosophies further. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more insightful deep dives, and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on these ancient yet like surprisingly relevant philosophies. We always
Yeah.
love hearing from you.